Welcome to Self-Made Podcast.
I'm Izzy Chavez.
I'm Thai Nguyen.
So we're here in our AIG headquarters here in Renton, Washington, very close to the city of Seattle. We're in our office. Thai, how did we get here?
I don't know. How did we get here, Izzy? We just had this vision of having our own place and creating our own community, our own way. And there was a lack of community out there that fit us and our culture, the way we ran our business. And we wanted a fun vibe. We didn't want a traditional office. Wanted a fun place where people can go, prospect, call, get together, support each other, and grow.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I was just thinking like lots of perseverance, lots of determination, lots of hustle, lots of grind, lots of faith. I would give all credit to God that we both crossed paths. I know that might sound cheesy for some of you guys, but I'm a big believer. I can't say any other reason as to why I'm sitting here shooting this podcast next to you, other than God.
Should we talk about how we met? And in real estate, in our business, we meet thousands of people. And it's very rare that I meet someone who has the same mindset, same value, same giving heart. And I was lucky to find you in the midst of thousands and thousands of people. And I've always had this vision of growing a community. And I was unsure if you were ready for it. And we had chat about it a few times. And you're like, I'm trying to still figure out where I'm going and what I'm doing, because you had just come back from Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I'm a wholesaler, Thai. I don't do traditional real estate. I grind. I'm a lone wolf, and I travel by myself. And so I guess my question to you is, what was that point where you're like, okay, I'm ready and I want to go all in?
There's a lot of points. I think less to do with you. I just had to figure some shit out with like my personal stuff. I took the biggest leap of faith, right? Just picture dropping everything, leaving all your friends, your family, your child, if you have a child. And I just, took a 3,000-mile trip. And so I left everything. I went through it was like a 6-month healing experience. I spent 6 months with Grant Cardone. So literally 6 months with this man. Like I was a part of his team. I pretty much know his whole team. He has a huge team. And so then I come back. And so I have just so much knowledge. I moved back into my mom's house. I'm kind of just staying in my sister's allowing me to sleep in her room. And it's just like, wow, I'm back in Seattle. Like, where do we go from here after this experience? And, all this knowledge, a lot has changed. The real estate has changed. So it was just like trying to put the pieces together. And I think as I was putting the puzzle together, I think as I'm putting the puzzle together, you're constantly on my mind as far as when I get to that point. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to be a part of Thai's team. I just remember we did our first podcast, which wasn't as official as this one, at the barbershop with Neve.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Oh God, what's the name of her barbershop? Upscale. Yeah, and I remember Neve's like. Because it's, even though we weren't on the team, people thought we were on the same team, because I swear on my life, I'm your biggest fan. Oh. I'm your biggest cheerleader. And so when we shot that podcast, Neve asked, she's like, so are you a part of Thai's team? Are you guys a team? I'm like, I was like, no comment. I
didn't even know that. I think, for me, the first time we had that speaking event at the John L. Scott office in
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
we had that first event and I was one of the speaker. I didn't really know you that well
Yeah, I never heard of you up to that point.
at that point.
Yeah, I never, maybe through like some listing signs or something like that, but I didn't know anything about you.
Yeah. And after I spoke, you came up and you start speaking. And when you stood in front of the crowd, I think there was about like 25 or 30 people in that room. You really commanded that room. When you came up and you were speaking, literally everybody stopped and wanted to hear every single word you were saying. And I was watching the room. I don't know if you, I don't talk about like how I observe the room as much, but I always do. I'm always watching what's going on in a room. I feel people's energy. I see who's paying attention, who's not, who's engaged, who's not. I really feel the room. I think I got this because we used to run a restaurant. I would look at people to see who's really eating the pho, because then we know if the pho is good or not, right? So I've gotten that skill over my past experience running a restaurant. But when I saw the crowd just freeze and really hone in on what you had to say, I knew right then that you have that leadership skill. You have a natural born skill as a communicator. And I knew that if I teamed up with you and brought you in and start building those layers, that you'd be unstoppable. And that's why I had my eye on you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get this guy and we're going to build this amazing community together.
Yeah, I remember that was my first speaking event ever, by the way. Other than the first 10X event that I was caught by surprise. You know, I was just like going up there, spoke for a 30-second, crowd went crazy. But that was my first speaking event. And to be honest with you, I didn't have any, at that time, my mindset was, I already knew I was leaving to Florida. I was already counting down the days. And I was really, really in the trenches. Like I had multiple flips going on. I had a ton of listings. You know, I may have been working with some buyers. And I was still putting up bandit signs at least 2-3 times a week, which is why I was so hesitant to say yes to that speaking event. But, you know, I got a lot of love for you guys and especially for Alicia. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And I think at the time, Kelly was also in my ear, like, you should really do this. I'm sure somebody planted that seed, like, get Izzy to do this. So, you know, that's Kelly. And so I was already in my mind, I was planning to go to Miami, but I remember that was my first interaction with you. And I just remember it was me, it was you who spoke first, and it was Rob, and then it was myself. And by the time they got to myself, I was probably so exhausted too from the hustle. I just couldn't remember the questions because I was so, it was like a gravitational pull. Every time you were speaking, there was something about you that was just gravitating me towards you. It was the language you were using. I don't know, like you're very, it's like you know the power of words, and so you speak life into existence with the words that you say. And but again, even in that moment, in that room, even after. I'm a very private person. You know, I think I might have just said hi to you or something, but I'm sure everyone wanted both of our attention. So usually when you're speaking, you don't get to interact with the speakers much. And so I left that room and I was like, all right, you know, I did this speaking thing, back to the hustle. And you know, let me leave to Florida soon.
Yeah. And when you left and I followed you through your journey, it was fun to watch you through your journey in Miami. And then you were coming back and I had arranged to do a listing presentation class. You remember? And so I messaged you. I was like, hey, are you coming back? Because I'm doing this listing presentation class. You want to come to the class? They're like, hell yeah. And you brought your friend with you and it was in Bellevue and I taught the class. It was funny because after the class, you're like, damn, I'm about to bring you a whole bunch of listings. You know, so I felt like I wanted you around to show you that there is more than just the wholesale aspect of real estate, that there is a huge parameter of real estate that you can tap into. And there should be no rocks unturned because you have the ability to do it all, not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that first speaking the first speaking event that you did with me with the 10X girls, I think that really put a fire inside of you to speak about your journey, to inspire other people. Because like you and I think we have something very similar, is that we didn't have people like us that look like us, that came from nothing and are self-made. And so we're going to get into this. So here's the question, Izzy. What does self-made mean to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if there's any hip hop fans watching this, it's like Drake's "Started from the Bottom" song.
Oh, okay.
Like
You
just,
started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Like someone who just started from, like, you're a great example, which is how we came up with Self-Made. We decided, hey, we need to bring light to those in darkness. And, we're asking ourselves all these questions as far as the intentions for the podcast. And as we're doing this discovery phase to make sure it was for the right reasons, the word self-made kept coming up. So we talk, self-made, talk, answer questions, self-made. And so then it was like, yo, what if we call the podcast Self-Made? So, for you and for myself, when I say started from the bottom, I was born in Mexico. I've told this story 1,000 times, and I love the story, and it's my story. It's my truth. My parents brought me here, when I was 2 years old. I went back to Mexico for the first time in 30 years in January, and I got to see, the village. I don't even know what you would call, like, I don't know what you call a place like that because I've never been to a place like that. But if there was a place like that here in Washington, it'd probably be somewhere in Eastern Washington in the middle of the mountains in a cabin, except this cabin is probably made out of like mud and sticks, and it's got like some metal shingles. I don't know if I'm saying the word right. So I went back to Mexico for the first time, and I got a chance to see. And the reason for the trip back, my grandmother passed last year, so I was going back to pay respects to my grandmother. But so we went to the village where I grew up, and I still had somewhat images because I was like 4 or 5 the second time that I came back to the States. So in my head, everything was big. But this time when I went back, everything was just very tiny. And I mean, I was born in Colima. The village is in Michoacan. You're not supposed to travel to Michoacan because it's very dangerous. One of the places it's terrible. Shout out to all my people from Michoacan. I love Michoacan. My mom's from Colima. My dad's born in Michoacan. Both of my parents grew up in Michoacan. So I got love for all the people, all the Mexican people, all the Vietnamese people, all the people from Michoacan. So everything was a lot bigger when I went back this time. And so just, it was like a full circle moment for me. I hadn't been back to Mexico in 30 plus years. And so, that's when it really hit me the hardest. And I'm still really digesting it every single day. I can't seem to understand how somebody would come from nothing, from literally dirt, from in the middle of a forest, a small little village. There's cattle, there's horses, there's donkeys, and I'm here in Renton, and we have this office, and I'm the man that I am today. We have the team that we have. I have, you're one of my partners, and we're shooting this like that. Like, it's crazy, started from the bottom.
Yeah, and now we're here. For me, self-made means that, like you, we came from absolutely nothing. I was born in Vietnam, came to the U.S. when I was around, I would say 8 years old, started first grade, and I could not understand anything anyone was saying. I learned what crayons were at the age of 8, and my mind was blown because one of the aunts brought a coloring book, and I started coloring, and all these beautiful colors came out, and my mind was blown.
I feel that. I think a lot of immigrants are going to feel that.
Yeah, and then growing up, our regular stores were Goodwill, Shop and Save. We just, made what we had work, our parents were making $250 an hour, and we couldn't afford a home. And my mom applied for Section 8, and we got accepted for government housing. And we moved into this community in White Center called, it was called White Center Heights. And we lived there. And as I got older, I was looking back, I realized I lived in a mobile home. And I didn't know that because I was so loved and happy. My parents gave us love. I had my brothers and sister. We loved each other. I didn't even know what a high-end retail store was. The only place I knew was Goodwill, the thrift store, like the blue tag, like Thursdays were blue tag days. So the blue tags got 50% off the blue tag. So like it was $5, it was $2.50 or 99 cents a shirt. So that's all I knew. And high end for me was Kmart. And so to look back and see how far I've come, that's self-made. That's me never giving up on myself. And as I went through college, I was never the smartest person. As I went through the corporate world, I was not always the smartest person in the room. I was trying to figure it out all the time. Like something inside of me felt that I was being blocked of my true potential inside the four walls. And I told my dad, and I was like, Dad, I think I want to go into real estate. I think I could do it. And I don't have to answer rules made by someone else. And I am capable of unlimited opportunities. And that's how this beast and this whole thing came about. And to me, that's self-made.
I love that. That was very powerful. And this is perfect for our next question. Can you walk us through your journey? How did a Vietnamese woman and a Mexican guy end up in real estate and coaching?
Well, who doesn't like pho and tacos? I don't think it's Vietnamese or Mexican. I think it's two people who have similar values. We have same energy. We have same alignment. We have the same faith. And we see good in all opportunities. And we're not biased or we're not judgmental. And that's what I love so much about you, is that you don't ever judge. You're so warm and acceptance of everybody's situation. And you're always there. Like, I know if I'm running late, he's like, I got us. And that's what I love about you. You never make me feel guilty for my lack of shortage. I would say if I'm running late and I have the kids, you're like, it's okay, I got it. And that made me feel safe that I could be who I am. And that just gave me so much more excitement to build something with you. Because I've been in this industry for a very long time, going on, I would say 21, 22 years. And I've never felt that way. I've always felt that I was being judged or someone wanted something from me, but never gave anything back to me. And I felt very alone in the process. And so this Vietnamese girl found this Mexican guy. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's about Vietnamese or Mexican. I just believe that we have similar spirit.
My heart just melted. And that's man, that was so beautiful. Thank you. You always see, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, your words are so powerful. You always, like yesterday, I wanted to text you all day, but I'm like, man, I always blow her up. Let me just give her some space. But yesterday because you just came back from Mexico and, we were kind of just catching up, and you were talking about my growth, and you were like, man, I don't know if you've noticed, but you've grown so much. To hear someone say that, and especially if anyone's going to notice it, it's going to be you, because we're pretty much with each other almost every day of the year, except when I'm traveling or you're traveling or weekends and stuff like that. But to hear you acknowledge it and notice it, it really hit different, especially coming from you. And so, how does a Mexican guy end up in real estate and coaching? I'm a believer. I really, you know, most of my friends are not here anymore. You know, some of them are passed away. They got their lives taken. Some of them are in prison, and some of them, you know, are I don't know where they're at. You know, they just made the wrong choices when we were growing up, and their life went in the wrong direction. And so I don't know how I escaped that. Those were I talked to so many times. I talked to people who grew up in the hood, and it's just like, you know, they share the same thing, and I'm like, man, the only answer that I have for you why I'm still here in the position that I'm in is God. And the other thing I would say, like on the coaching side, and you know, with this space, I really like if I have to give you your flowers, like you're the visionary of this, you know, like this is your vision that we're bringing to life. And so because like, you know, when, for example, when we were talking about the speaking event, and you're like, you kind of you already knew at that point that I had potential to be something, to be big, to be great. Up until that, it's just me talking to myself in the mirror every morning. Literally, I don't have anyone like Thai. And most of and see, that's what drew me to you, is that for the first time, other than, you know, when I go to like a networking event out of state with like some big time guy like Grant Cardone, I don't really have anyone who has like, you know, who thinks big or has a vision or speaks the same language. And so I think when I first heard you speak, you know, that it was like a lot of just light bulbs, like, man, this person's speaking the same language that I'm speaking. And so I'm really here aside from God because of you. I mean, you saw the vision and you believed in me and you took the risk on me. You know, everybody thinks it's easy, but what about when like you left me on red because you were.
Oh my God. You know, I've shut down a lot of business, and that's what entrepreneurship is. It's you build something, it doesn't work, you disassemble it. And I've done it so many times. And I had this vision, and where you're like, okay, Thai, I'm all in. I started panicking because all the flashback of all the dissembling and all the failed business that I put together didn't come together. And looking back, those were just life lessons that I've learned along the way. Those were lessons that I know what to do, what not to do, and how to navigate it. I just didn't have the right business partner. I didn't have the right foundation to grow. And they're like, Ty, yo, are we gonna sign the lease? And I was like, okay, let's do it. I was nervous because of my trauma, because of all the failed business that I put up and I had to take down. I had to throw things away. I had like boxes of hoodies and t-shirts of my team that I had to donate. And so just thinking back of all that, it was really traumatizing to say, okay, am I really, really ready to go all in again? What if that happens again? And I think thinking back, the one question I had asked your sister, and I was like, is Izzy like for real? And she said, straight in my eye, she did not flinch. She said, he is the most stable, consistent human being I've ever met. And he always follows through. And that was enough for me. Someone that loves you, respects you, your sister who's always been there with you from day one saying that, I was like, okay, I'm ready. So thank you so much for those words at the time that I needed it most.
Yeah, and it's the same for me. I'm not going to say too much so we can move on to the next one, which is going to be for you. But I'll just say to my sisters, because I have 4 sisters, I love you all very much, though I don't get to spend as much time as I normally used to or I would like to. But I pray for you guys all the time. Failure only means you tried. And so I think for me, I had similar experiences, but I'm not like, I don't, you can't have success without failure. And so I'm going to, I was waiting for this moment. I'm going to fucking fail as many fucking times as it takes until I become successful. I'm going to fail forward. So failure only means that you tried.
Were there any pivotal moments that made you realize you were built for this entrepreneurship world?
This, my answer might, I think it's going to be very cheesy, but there's two things that just come to mind right away. The first one is I've always had this voice. I don't know if you have this voice, but and it's not like the monkey. It's like, no, this is like light, like God, always talking to me, and I always listen to it. And so, this voice always just like, yo, like you're destined for greatness. Like you're born to be a king. Like that's what this voice tells me. And so I've always been listening to this voice, and I don't know where it's guiding me, but I listen to it and I kind of just follow it. Kind of like as if you're following like a shadow or something. I don't know how to explain it, but there's always been this voice since I was a little kid. I didn't meet my parents until when I was 2 years old. My parents brought me to the States. It was really hard for them. So by the time I was 3, they sent me and my brother back to Mexico. And then my parents come back, and then we didn't come back to meet them until I was like 5. So that's part of the reason that I became a leader, because, most children, when they're going to make a decision, their parents are like, hey, like with my daughter, right? It's just like, hey, you shouldn't do this. You should do this. Wake up, brush your teeth. I didn't have that. All I had was myself. And then I had my brother, so I had to look out for my brother. So from a very early age, I became a leader. And instead of going to my parent, it's like, I don't know. It's like intuition is what you would call it. I'm listening to this voice, to intuition, and it's telling me, do this, do that. So that's one thing. And that also kind of bleeds into the second one, is when I had all these jobs, I hated working for someone. Hate is a strong word. I don't like using that word. So let's say I disliked very much working for someone, and I disliked, even till this day, I dislike I think I've grown so much where I can accept criticism. We have a lot of tough conversations. You coach me a lot, and but because I think I didn't grow up with my parents, I don't like people telling me what to do. And so when you work at a job, they're like, hey, you need to do this. And sometimes you have incompetent people who will tell you how to do your job when you know that you can do it better than the way they're telling. And then the other thing I dislike very much is when I go look at a schedule and I see my name on there and it says like, these are the hours that you're working and these are your 2 days off. And I'm super ambitious. Like I'm super ambitious. It's going to take, I mean, you know how much money it takes to keep this office open, to own the real estate that we own, to do the things that we do, all the events that we host, like a lot of money, it takes a lot of money. And so,
It takes a lot of money and time.
I can't do a 9 to 5. Like, this takes a lot of money and time. And if I'm going to do anything, this is what I'm going to do. Nobody's going to fucking tell me, unless you're more successful than me. First of all, don't give me no fucking advice unless you have something. Let me be more humble. Please do not give me any advice or your opinion on something unless you have something that I want, unless you walk a mile in my shoes, unless I come to you and I say, hey, what do you think about this? Give me your 2 cents. Otherwise, opinions are free and I don't want them. If I want some advice, I'm going to come to Thai. I'm going to go to Guru. I'm going to go to Ben. Or I'm going to go see Grant. This is a good question for you.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced starting out, and how did you push through them?
Starting out, I first had to believe in myself, and I had to gamble on myself. And it was hard starting off because I didn't have a role model. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anybody leading the way and helping me through my journey. I had really just had to figure out on my own. And I failed a lot. I had family or friends that didn't want to buy or sell with me. And it made me question myself, like, why wouldn't they want to work with me? We've known each other all our lives. It just didn't make sense. But now thinking back, it did make sense. Because what they did for me was they made me stronger to find my own business. And I found it really liberating to go cold call and prospect to people I absolutely don't know. Because I know that if I fuck up and I don't see them, it's not a big deal. But if I screw up with a friend or a family that's in my circle, I'm going to have to face them every time. And they're like, you didn't take care of me or you didn't do it right. And so I just started cold calling. I called expireds every day. Shout out to my friend Mary Van. She and I worked at WAMU back in the day together. It was called Washington Mutual. And we worked at the bank. She quit. I quit because we were always late to work. And she got her real estate license. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get my license too. And when we joined the John L. Scott office, we didn't have anyone teaching us. And so we would just go in the office and she would have we would have a can. And if she was late to prospect, she put money in the jar. And if I was late, I put money in the jar. So every day we were just rushing into the office to make our calls because I didn't want to put $20. $20 20 years ago was a lot of money. And we would just hit the phones. And back then there was not a do not call list. It was every man for, what do they say? Every
man for themselves.
Yeah, every man for themselves. And we would just pick up the phone and I don't know, it just came naturally to me. I would say, hey, Maria, this is Thai. I noticed your house didn't sell on the market. Can you give me just 10 minutes of your time and I could tell you how I could sell your house in less than 30 days or my service is free?
Let me just tell you guys, I do a lot of cold calling. Thai is a really, really good cold caller. Just the way she sounded right now is the exact way she sounds when she's on the phones.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. It just came natural to me because I feel like expired listings were a broken relationship. It was the boyfriend that didn't treat the girlfriend that well, and I'm here to save the day, right? And so I would call them, and they'd pick up the phone, and they'd invite me over. And I came over for 60 days. I had like 4 listings. I remember calling this expired, and they had 2 new construction expired. I called them. I said, hey, I could sell both of them within 30 days. My service is free. Just give me 10 minutes. I promise I won't waste your time. I know what to do to get it sold. And they invited me over. I came over their house, and they lived in this giant mansion in Bellevue. They were in robes, drinking vodka. I was like, okay, they're my people. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you 30 days. I'm going to give you both of those listings. And they became my best clients ever. They loved me. I became friends with their kids. I helped their kids buy houses. And looking back, those failures were a blessing because it made me uncomfortable. And in that uncomfortable and that failure, I always thrive. And that's what I know about myself. When I'm pushed against the wall, I'll figure it out.
Don't push this girl against the wall because it's not gonna be pretty for you. I've seen it. I've seen her so many times. She's a beast.
Thank you so much. Okay, I have a question for you. And this question is, there's a lot of noise online. Everybody's online these days. There's a lot of noise online about success. What's your take on what it actually takes to build something from scratch?
You've seen that like an iceberg.
Right.
Like I think it's in science class or something. They talk about an iceberg, how
beautiful it is on top.
On top,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that you see is 20%. And if I have my numbers wrong, forgive me. Underneath the iceberg, what you don't see is 80% of the iceberg. So most of the iceberg is underneath the ocean, but you don't see it. And so success is just like that, where on social media, Or, you know, when we go to speak and people just come up to us and they give us a lot of love and they're like, man, you guys are so lucky. They see that 20%, but they don't see, right? It might be on a Friday that we do a speaking gig. They don't see like the 365 days when we're in here, sun up to sun down, literally. Sometimes, I mean, I know you've been here. There's really no time of when you're gonna say, oh, I'm gonna be in here Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, and I'm gonna be out of here by 5, because some days it requires you to be here extra time and probably be here until 9 or 10. And so, just like the iceberg, people don't that 80% is like hard work. It's like failure. It's dedication. Motivation, tons of integrity. Like we believe, one of the biggest assets that you have, I think that is a very easy decision for me to align myself with you. Your conviction and just your, I know I say this a lot, but I've been around a lot of people. You know, I was raised by my mother. She was single. My mother would get up at 4. She'd go to work. She'd come home by 7. And you remind me a lot of my mother, as far as just having that same work ethic. You know, that's one of the best things that my mother taught me was having faith. My mother, she was big. I mean, we'd go to church like 3 times a week. Having faith, doing right by others, big on integrity, and work really, really hard. And I know I say this so much, but it's because, I mean, you're 22 years in and you still work like you have nothing. Like your work ethic is crazy. And so that's the best way that I can answer that question, just giving that iceberg analogy on the 80% that people don't see, like all the times shit doesn't go the way you want it to go. Or we might be going through hell, but we still show up, to that speaking event because we are impeccable with our word. If we say something, we do it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Success looks easy on the outside, but it's very, very hard when you get down to the baby steps. There's 1,000 baby steps before you get to that one moment where it takes you to that next level. There's like 1,000 little baby steps that has to happen. Like, for instance, this podcast room. We had talked about this about a year and a half ago. Getting the equipment, the table, the vision, what our branding, logo, theme, everything looks like. There's 1,000 pieces that go into it before it actually arrives. And I think that is the hardest part about success, and online does not see that. They see, oh, this room looks beautiful. Like, wow, they got their shit together.
Like we snapped it and then boom, there it is.
Exactly. The tooth fairy came with the money. But they didn't realize how hard it was to pull that damn tooth. So, people don't realize that. They see that, we've got this giant team now and everything came easy. But it was so many appointments, so many days where I wasn't even sure if this was going to come together. But the biggest win is in life, I think, is to have a vision, to write it down, and then executing the vision, and then seeing it come to life.
1,000%.
And that's where it breaks.
Yeah, and not sometimes that vision, it's gonna take a long time. I mean, you said this room took us a year and a half to it's gonna take time, and people, they'll quit if it doesn't happen for them right away. I think with social media, with things like Amazon, Uber, where you can get what's the food apps? DoorDash, where you can get
Uber
things
Eats.
instant.
Yep.
People get impatient. Everybody wants they want instant gratification.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
don't want instant gratification. I want to earn all of my shit. I once read in the book that you can give someone $1 million, that does not make them a millionaire. You actually are hurting that person because they don't know what it took to make that money.
Yeah. Every time an agent wants to join our team and they say, hey, do you guys give free leads? And Iz was like, hell no. It was like, you better go find your own leads.
Yeah. Because nobody ever gave me, and that's the thing about this podcast. That's the thing about self-made and everyone that we're gonna have on the self-made. And no one ever gave us anything.
Yeah, you can't buy.
Yeah,
You can't buy it.
this room was this office. This room. I mean, everything about us was built off blood, sweat, and tears.
Our own bank account. This
Yeah.
came from our own personal bank account to get it where it's at, and that's self-made to me. We didn't get any donation, no sponsorship.
Yo, but if y'all want to donate, you
Yes.
know,
Please donate.
Please donate. It's Grow with AIA. What's the email for Grow with? It's grow@growwithaia.com. We got a Zelle. We're not gonna say no to donations. Like
Exactly.
you know, we'll say. And so we'll jump into our next
Okay.
our next one. It's what's something people never talk about when it comes to being self-made, but they absolutely should. I feel like we've been talking about
Yeah.
that a lot, but if there's anything else that you think, I'll repeat it one more time.
Okay.
What's something people never talk about when it comes to being self-made, but they absolutely should?
That you're gonna fail 1,000 times and it's gonna cost a lot of money, and you better be prepared for it. And then the biggest thing is you're gonna lose a lot of people. You're gonna lose a lot of people in the process. You're gonna lose a lot of money, and it's gonna take so much more time than you think that it will. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. You're speaking my language right there. I would just emphasize on, I was thinking about it this morning, and I think I've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of our agents. A lot of agents, you know, I coach agents everywhere who are on our team, who are not on our team, just because I'm a giver like that. And it's just like that. How long, like it's gonna, we always, and I find myself doing this where I'm a super, super optimistic person. Like I could see everything could look the opposite of what I want, but I will always like see the glass half full versus half empty.
For me, it is that you're going to lose a lot of people.
Yes.
That you spend a lot of time with, that you invested a lot of time with. That's one. Two is you're going to fail and you're going to get yourself back up. And three, you're going to lose a lot of fucking money. But you better make a lot of money to lose a lot of money, because during those times when you lose money, you're going to learn from it. Yeah?
A lot of you real estate agents know what she's talking about right now,
Yes.
because it's rough out there.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's go into this next one.
Okay.
What are and this is a great question for you. I feel like you're just gonna smoke this one. What are the most powerful habits or mindset shifts that change your game completely?
What really changed the game for me is working internally with myself. And we focus too much in the external. And the past 2 years, I've really dialed down and just really worked on myself and who I want to become and who I want to show up like for the people I love. And that was really a big shift for me. I stopped comparing myself to other people. I started to look inside and say, okay, how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up? And for me, showing up is being more kind, patient, and loving myself first. I have 3 kids that I dedicate my whole life to. My husband, my parents, my sibling, everybody besides myself. And when I started to look deeper into who I wanted to become, I started doing a lot of meditation. Oof, let me tell you, when you learn to quiet your mind, you tap into a different frequency that will change and enlighten you. Because every day you are so affected by so many noise that come your way. You have emails, people needing you all the time. What are they doing? Your friends are going out. Are you there? What's the next event going to look like? And it's just so many noise that hits you all the time. And when I went to the Joe Dispenza meditation retreat, the 7-day meditation retreat, learning to shut down, quiet the noise, and really envisioning who I want to become and how I want to show up, was profound. And I felt when I came back, I walked into this room a different person because I wasn't working on everything outside of me. I was working within me. And my soul was enlightened. And I showed up differently because of that. And so I think that's really something now that has become a habit for me is doing my meditation and also reading. Those two things, oh my gosh, had really, really changed me. And I think you notice I've changed a lot too. I mean, I noticed you've changed, but I think I changed a lot over the years too. And it's never too late, okay? I am not young anymore, and it's never too late to pivot who you want to become. Okay, Izzy, I have a question for you. How has cultural identity influenced your hustle, your mindset, or even how people perceive you in business? Because remember, we had talked about you going to an appointment, and you had called this prospect for like 2 or 3 years, and he finally decided he wanted to meet you. And when you showed up, he acted differently because he saw you. And how did you feel in that moment? What were the emotional, like let's take me to that point where you showed up, and then how did he react?
You know, that I've experienced that my whole life. I think when I was younger, I felt rejection. But now it doesn't. Now I know my worth. I bring so much to the table, as you know.
Yeah.
I don't react to it. Yeah.
But for someone who maybe may not be as strong as you, and someone who doesn't have the confidence that you have, being a person of color, it's hard. It makes it harder for us when we get into a table.
Yes.
And so when they meet us, we may not be from Bellevue or Thai or those wealthy areas, and we're going to an appointment, and it's a $2, $5, $10 million transaction, right? How do you think, or what advice can you give someone who walks into those rooms and may not have that same opportunity based on their color or background?
You're doing me a favor by not doing business with me because of the color of my hair or my skin. You know, like I'm good. I don't know what to say to that. Like I just don't feel. I guess if I was younger and I'm losing business, I don't know if I believe in like losing. I just think it's like what is that quote of like redirection? Something rejection is God's redirection.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, for me, I think that it used to affect me because it made me feel that I wasn't good enough. And now with, the experiences that I have, I wish them well. I move on and I snap out of it very quickly. I remember I used to cry about it, lose sleep over it for days. And then now, like that one lady that fired me, I'm like, wow, she fired me. Okay. And I look back on my track sheet of how many other clients I have that actually loves me, that wants to do business with me. I'm like, okay, thank you. Because that transaction would have been really hard to navigate when she didn't even trust me in the first place. So she did me a favor by firing me. And so is that mental shift for me, is that it's okay to lose it.
Check this one out.
Okay.
Right? We're talking about all like the losses and failures and pain, and I still ended up with Thai Nguyen.
So that wraps up our first episode. How did that feel?
That felt good. It felt like therapeutic. Lots of gems, lots of nuggets. You know, we're gonna have a lot of entrepreneurs a lot of hustlers, a lot of individuals out there who are self-made. They're going to come here and they're going to share all their wins and losses. And so for those people, who maybe are in the beginning stages, maybe they're somewhere in the middle, or maybe they're restarting, just give them some hope. Give them some hope by sharing some of these self-made individual stories.
We're super excited. I'm excited to bring on more self-made entrepreneurs out there that have done it all and are here to share their story. It's almost like a book, right? It's almost like a book where you get to tap in. You get to tap into their story and learn from those life lessons. And it's amazing to be able to share those stories. It's just like when I read a book and how it impacted me. Like we sat there and we were talking about the latest book that we read together, and just going through chapters and chapters of the lessons, it really helped me grow as a human being. And so my hope for our podcast here, Self-Made, is that we deliver these messages for you so that you can grow and have the confidence to know that you're not alone in this journey. And we're here and we are impacted the same, and we continue to grow.
Yeah, the purpose of our podcast is to give, to inspire, to bring light to those in darkness. We mentor and coach a lot of people, friends, family, our team, people that are not on our team, strangers. This is what we're all about. This is, when someone thinks about Thai or thinks about Izzy, we want them to think like God, light, positivity, growth, uncomfortable
values, support,
integrity,
and fun. Yeah. We have a lot of fun.
And fun, of course.
We're not boring.
Thai brings the fun. I'm really boring, but Thai is definitely brings the party.
Make sure when you come visit me, you bring me a bottle of tequila.
Be prepared to drink tequila if you come to this office.
No wonder we're business partners, because I love a good tequila.
It doesn't matter if it's 9. It doesn't matter, if it's 8 at night, you're going to have a shot depending on what time you come here. And something that Diana said to me a couple weeks back, when life gives you lemons, make margaritas.
Yes, I love that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We love you guys, and we're excited to see you.
We hope you enjoyed it. God bless you.